Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Board Masters with me, Chris Mullins, and today I wanted to talk about one of my most long-awaited campaigns which went live yesterday, Silvercoin Age of Monster Hunters by Bonafide Games, who are first-time creators. It's a game I've spoken about in the past a number of times. I did a comparison with the Witcher Old World video, and also this featured in my video about the games most likely to break my pledge of not buying anything. It has broken that, I will freely admit that. But let's dive in. So we got Silvercoin Age of Monster Hunters. As I said, went live yesterday. So today I'm recording this is Wednesday. This will go live Wednesday afternoon UK time. I wanted to get it out pretty quick after the campaign launch because they do have a dreaded early bird. As you know, I do hate early birds, but they've played this one quite well to keep me on side, so we'll get into that a bit later. But as I kind of mentioned, Silvercoin, I've done a comparison with the Witcher Old World video last year, and that's basically because this is a game that is heavily inspired by the world of the Witcher, I think. Speaking to the designers, it's certainly a game they pitched to be an official Witcher adaptation a few years back, but they wanted to go with something a bit more accessible, and hence Witcher Old World that came on Kickstarter last year, but was not a Witcher game in my opinion, whereas this is definitely a lot more faithful, a lot deeper, and just has those elements that I want in a Witcher game. So here's the early bird. So 48-hour early bird, as I said. Usually hate them. But when I went on the podcast with them, I told them my favourite stretch goal is getting your name in the box or something. And so they've taken that and put that as the early bird. So they've played me well there, because there's no way I'm going to be resisting that. Obviously, it's 48-hour early bird, as you can see, ends the 21st of July. So by the time this video goes live, you should have at least 24 hours to try and get in on that if you want. They are doing stretch goals, and as you can see, new monsters, community made monsters. So they are engaging with the community. I know usually it's sort of, is there any point in backing Kickstarters or waiting for retail? Whereas with this game, you can see they're actively working with the community. So getting in with the community nice and early is a benefit if that's something you care about. First quote, another person called Chris, not me, but it is basically the same thing that I said in my comparison video. This is the game that I wanted the Witcher game to be. I mean, the art style is gorgeous. Got some very interesting gameplay mechanics, like this first one where you bid for your starting character, location and resources using victory points. So you don't just pick a character and pick a point on the map and jump off. There's this very interesting early auction where do you want to spend a big chunk of your victory points on getting the character you really want to be, or would you rather save the points, get a character that you're maybe not as familiar with or not as keen on? And just, yeah, it's a really interesting sort of mechanic straight out of the box that you already have to make decisions and compete against your opponents. Whether that's the same mechanic in the co-op menu game mode, I'm not 100%, because I guess that would kind of be redundant in a co-op scenario, but certainly in the competitive game, that is a really interesting mechanic. You travel and explore the grand open world, and that was one of the main things that I really liked about Silvercoin compared to the Witcher Old World. The videos of the Witcher Old World that I saw, basically, once you got your hand up to a certain level, you can pretty much traverse the entire continent in one turn, visiting multiple cities, camps and things like that. And for me, that's just not the Witcher. I mean, yeah, I guess they've got fast travel, but if you're just fast traveling from point A to point B to point C, then you're missing what makes those games great. Whereas this is all about exploration, it will take you a significant proportion of time to traverse the whole country. Uh, yeah, it's going to take rounds and rounds before you can do that. Different weather, seasons, and day and night cycles, which then works into learning monster strengths and weaknesses, which we see a bit further down. Battle more than 30 unique monsters, so again, it's not just quantity of throwing loads of enemies at you. This is an enemy that you can choose to hunt or be commissioned to hunt. It has its own powers, its own skills, its own strengths, its own weaknesses. You have to research that. You have to prepare yourself. Again, very reflective of the Witcher games, because that's what you have to do with the major hunts in there. Okay, so why back now? I sort of touched a little bit on this earlier, but it's really become clear over the past 12 months, especially for me with crowdfunding, that it's getting a lot harder to justify jumping in on crowdfunding instead of waiting for retail, largely because of the shipping crisis and just the dramatic increase in the costs of that. But I think the guys over at Bonafide Games have done a decent job of explaining why you should jump in now. Obviously, the retail and Kickstarter versions will be very different. The add-ons are exclusive for Kickstarter. They are a first-time developer. This is what crowdfunding should be all about. It's what it certainly used to be about, as opposed to now just allowing ComeOn, for example, to just churn out piles and piles and piles of plastic and make a huge amount of money doing it. I mean, good for them. Kickstarter exclusive price, as we would expect. And probably the biggest thing is helping shape the game. As we saw earlier, they are having community design monsters in the game as stretch goals. They have other stretch goals, other social goals. You're going to be able to help shape the game in a way that obviously you can't do if you wait for retail. And then obviously you've got the standard bits about what's in the box. I love the world map. I do think it's gorgeous. I'm not entirely sure why, but ever since I first saw this world map, it's just one that I really, really love. Only a handful of miniatures for the heroes, which I think is the right call for them, because they could go very miniature heavy in this. And I suppose when I've spoken to them in the past, when I was on that podcast, there was the potential of it maybe being an add-on or something. But yeah, for a first-time developer to go very mini heavy would be a needless risk and just inflate the cost to a pointless degree, I think. So you've got the miniatures for your heroes. I am absolutely certain that more heroes will be unlocked as the campaign proves successful. Get a quick glance at the monster cards here, and hopefully you can see the sort of things that I mentioned earlier in terms of the strengths and the weaknesses. So on the left you've got the river troll. So the river troll gets bonuses depending on what regions of the map it comes out in. It also gets strength based on whether you're fighting it in spring or autumn, and so obviously you want to avoid hunting it during that time of year. Whereas you, as the hunter, you get a strength bonus if you fight it in the summer or if you're using protection magic. So again, if you're hunting that sort of creature, you know, I'm going to get a bonus for my protection magic. I will take a bit of time to go and learn some before fighting it. As you can see, the different levels of cards, so they get stronger. So we've got the Manticore on the right there. Again, bonuses if it's clear weather or drought, because it likes to dry. Whereas you then get bonuses depending what coloured special dice you're using, if you've got spirit and protection magic, or if you're using air magic. Any combination or all of the above. So again, it just makes all the fights more meaningful, more tactical. You have to prep, and that is what a Witcher game should be for me. So we've obviously got the base pledge at €85, which is pretty reasonable actually. I kind of expected it to hit the €100, and I guess that's the MSRP. But I expected that to even be the Kickstarter price, so happy with that. And then you've got the deluxe collectors all in, which adds the Trinity expansion, the metal coins, playmats, etc. And then they've also got these special gifts for the moon one, I think, is when the campaign ends, and the sun is when the game arrives. No idea what those could be, but certainly always nice to have a few extra gifts. But that is probably everything I'm going to talk about regarding Silver Coin. I think it looks fantastic from what I've played on Tabletopia. It was really, really good. And it just, if you want a Witcher game, this is the best one that I have encountered. I think it looks fantastic. It is really reflective of the Witcher universe, and just perfectly captures the vibe of playing those video games, with the exploration and the research and the preparation aspects, and just everything that I like in that world. So yeah, I'm backing it. I would be very interested to hear if you are as well, and certainly if you aren't, because these things always have two sides of the coin, and it's very interesting to hear differing opinions now and again. But that's it for this video, so thank you very much for watching. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and have a good one. Bye bye now.